Hey everyone, Greg Marchand here. Welcome to another episode of the Virtual Instructor-Led Training Program brought to you by the Service Sales Academy. In this episode, we're talking about essential skills for service advisors. Occasionally, not as often as I get asked about manager skills, but occasionally I'll get asked by a manager or a shop owner, what should my service advisors be doing? And I kind of boil down the essential service advisor skills into these areas. You might add some depending on your organization. And of course, there's going to be, within each one of these areas, there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff in there. But they've got to have people skills. They've got to have people skills. That to me is number one. I can teach a lot of other stuff, but teaching people skills is tough. They should have some sense of organization. And this looks different to different folks, and we'll talk about that. It's a harder one to hire for, certainly. They've got to have telephone skills. Good news is those can be taught, and they can be hired for as well. And then they've got to have some selling skills. And I would argue that we can teach selling skills, and you can hire for selling skills. So really, of these four areas, the people skills are by far the most important. Think about the job of service advisor, okay? When we think about plugging these skills in, there's a lot to this job. And I've often for years said it's probably the most difficult job in the automotive service industry. It's brutal, right? It's brutal. It's fast-paced. It's busy. You have to be a translator. You're taking what the technician says and translating it for the customer, or what the customer says and translating it for the technician. Sometimes you literally have to be a translator in certain markets. You're the first person to get yelled at. That didn't get on the slide, but you're the first person that somebody gets upset with, whether it's a technician, the boss, a customer. I mean, you're such a focal point. You're the salesperson that drives the sales for the organization. It's probably your primary job. And then you've got to motivate. You've got to motivate the customers to say yes. You've got to motivate the technicians to be productive. And then you have to be a learner. You have to be a learner because there's so much to this job. And maybe I should have put learning as one of the essential skill sets of a service advisor. When shop owners or managers come to me and they say, Greg, what do you think about moving this person into the service advisor position? I really like them. I think they can do this. My first question is, how well do they learn their other job? And if they struggled to learn that job, then they're probably not a good fit for the service advisor position. Because not only do you have to learn the service management system and the phone system and certain processes, whatever those might be, but stuff is constantly changing, right? Especially on the technical side. And what was true today is not necessarily true tomorrow. And the market changes, right? And the business is always going to change if you're growing. And so they've got to learn a lot of stuff in order to just do the job, let alone grow. So there's a lot to this job. And because there's so much, I want to find a learner. If I'm hiring for a service advisor, I'm looking for somebody that loves to learn. Because if they love to learn and they're a people person, boom, I just found somebody. If they're organized, great. But if they're not organized, I don't worry about it too much. I can probably put enough process in place that I can keep most of the stuff from falling through the cracks. But I can't teach them to be a learner, and I can't teach them to be a people person. So really, those two things are the really, really important thing when you're thinking about who can be a service advisor, or if you're interviewing for a service advisor. Now, let's talk about those skill sets, those essential skill sets, right? The people skills. It's hard to teach. It's very hard to teach, but I might even say it's impossible to teach. Never say never, right? Never say never, but you tend to either develop into a people person or you don't. And maybe I shouldn't make it that black and white, because look, as a technician, I was a grumpy dude, and I was the technician that y'all hated. I really was. I threw a fit over anything. I threw stuff. I was miserable. And I developed into a people person. At least I think I did. So I don't want to say never, but boy, learning people skills, I don't know. I think you either got it in you and it needs to be brought out, or you just don't have it in you. It's really hard to fake being a people person. And you've seen that in your customer transactions out and about outside your shop. You know when somebody really hates their job. And they're just not a people person. I mean, I took my daughter, my daughter absolutely had, and I won't use the names, absolutely had to have a mint shake that's only available in March. You can probably figure that out, right? And the first place we went, the shake machine was broken, and she was just beside herself upset. We finally, last week, get to this organization, and the shake machine's working. What breaks in a shake machine? Can you tell me that? It's not that. It can't be that complex. Anyway, I digress. We get there, and there was one person working in register. Just one customer service representative, we'll call them. And it was brutal. I mean, it was brutal. It was a lunch rush. It was on a Sunday. People were just getting out of church. You know, other groups were coming in. Kids were coming in because they were hungry. It was lunchtime. And I'm watching this, and this person, number one, they didn't move fast. And number two, they could really care less about their job. Now, granted, it's not the most awesome job on the planet, right? Then don't do it if it's not the most awesome job on the planet and you really hate it that much. I get up to the counter, and I said, "How you doing?" And they stared at me like I'd spoken some other language that wasn't from this planet. And so I'm like, okay, can I just have one of those thingies? That be it? Yep. $3.49, whatever it was. And I paid for it. And I'm watching this person. I'm like, wow, they're not a people person, because it's hard to fake being a people person. We wait 15 minutes for a shake. The shake finally comes out. Meanwhile, I was watching this individual they're the same way with everybody. They could have cared less. I go up to get the shake. I said, "Thank you very much," to the person that brought it over. And they turned around, they just stared at me again. Different person, stared at me. No, you're welcome, no smile, no have a nice day. You can't fake being a people person. Here are two people that were not people persons that were in a customer service position. Service advisors have to be people. They have to be. If you want a successful organization, you need customer service representatives who like people. We can teach them enough to be dangerous technically. We can teach them selling skills. We can teach them the phone system. We can teach them your dispatch process. We can't teach them to like people. Folks will come to me in class and they'll say, "Greg, how do I get good service advisors?" And first of all, I tell them, listen, if I knew how to get good service advisors, I wouldn't be here teaching a class right now. Okay? I'd be living in some golden palace somewhere because I'd be a rock star. But the advice I can offer you is go find a people person, number one, because that's going to save you a lot of pain. Now, is it the end all be all? No, it's not, because there are some people that are great people and they cannot learn. What do we have on that slide? Learner and people. That's what you're looking for. It's what we really, really need. All right? It's really hard to fake being a people person. There are certain people skills that you might be able to teach. You can teach active listening. It takes practice. You've got to practice it. You've got to coach it. You've got to show it to them, but you can teach it. You can teach them to smile when they're greeting a customer. Most of the time. You can teach them something about body language. Most of the time. Now, these are people skills, and I say you can teach them. They're not the easiest things to learn. If you're a people person, they come really easily, right? If I'm not a people person, and I really like the logic of working on cars, you can teach me this over time. It will not be easy and it will take time. But you're still not going to make me into a people person. Remember the active listening thing, really, really important. Really important. You can teach this as a people skill. You can teach this as a manager skill. Eye contact, head nodding, reflection, saying back to the customer or the employee or a person what you just thought you heard them say to you. You can teach that. You can teach them to smile. Maybe. I mean, you can make them smile, right? Poke the bear a little bit, and tell some jokes, crack a joke every now and then, whatever it might be. Smiling, even on the phone, changes the tone to everything, right? If you smile more, they might smile more. You can remind them to smile. Hey, smile when you say hi. Smile when you say hi. Eventually, they'll figure it out. Look, you can fake a smile, and it changes things. All right? You can fake a smile, and it will change things. You can use video. You can show them what they look like on video. You can even use phone call logging and say, does it sound like you're smiling? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was smiling. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was smiling. You can't fake that. They know, they can tell. So if you don't want to use video, and most of you don't, use phone call logging. You can teach a smile, and it will change a little bit. It won't make them a pure on, straight on people person, but it'll change things a little bit. You can teach body language, but look, body language, it's like coaching sports. You got to have video. You have to have video. If that individual cannot see themselves, and I did this, I talk about this a lot, but it's really, really important. I did this a couple of weeks ago with my daughter on the ski hill in the moguls. I videoed her. She was training for a competition, and I would video her, and I would say, look at you, look at this girl. What do you see the differences are? And I am telling you, from run to run, there was a dramatic difference. And this is with a 10-year-old. There was a dramatic difference. Why? Because she saw herself. You can say whatever you want to say. You need to do this. You need to reach down the hill. You need to reach for the back of the mogul. You need to get those knees together. Get one knee behind you. You can say whatever you want to say. But unless certain people can visualize that and they see what they're doing now, because it might feel like they're doing something when it doesn't look like they're doing something. You show the video, and all of a sudden they go, oh, right? Use this in baseball coaching for 20 years. It works. It works for training body language as well. Are you sitting or standing when you deal with a customer? Are you one of those close talkers? Are you too far away? Where are your hands? What are your hands doing? Right? All this stuff. There's some great YouTube videos out there about body language. They're 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes long. Right? Use these resources. Google body language videos. Go to YouTube, search body language videos. There's some great stuff out there. It's not perfect. You're not gonna take a non-people person and turn them into a people person by teaching active listening and teaching body language and teaching them to smile. But these are skills you can teach. Okay, so if you have somebody that you really you want them for whatever reason, and they're not doing this, you can teach them these 3 things. All right. The organizational skills. Now we're kind of leaking into the a little harder to teach thing. It also gets into owner and manager psychology too, though. Organizational skills, unless the kids are little and they can grow up being taught some organization, is really, really hard to teach an adult to do this. You can provide some tools to be organized. You can provide notebooks. You can provide, I saw a sticky note app for the computer recently, all right? Because the owner hates the sticky note thing. He says, we open the door and they'll blow away and you'll lose them. I have not once seen this happen, but it could happen, I suppose. You can provide some tools to help individuals be organized and make processes to use those tools mandatory. Whether it's taking notes, how do we take notes? You can get custom notepads today, and you can put any category on there that you want. You can force them to fill it out, and that will help with organization. You can say, look, you know what? When a part comes in there, the part slip goes over there. Okay, goes in that folder, goes in that bin, goes in this cubby, whatever it might be. You can have consistent schedules, all right? So you get here at 7:30, we open at 8. Between 7:30 and 8 o'clock, here's your checklist of stuff you have to do. I'm going to collect this checklist every single day. And don't just check the boxes, make sure they got to fill something out so that you're collecting some data, all right? And it gets them in certain habits. And so organizational skills are oftentimes about habit, right? That's why I say you teach a little kid to do it and they grow up that way, they're in a habit by the time they're an adult. But if they were pigpen as a kid and nobody ever taught them organizational skills, by the time they get to be an adult, they're an adult pigpen. So it's organizational skills is about habit, and you can get people into certain habits. It's never perfect. Here's the thing that's challenging though. You can't have it all, right? So don't nitpick. Don't choose your battles, if you will. If those of you that are parents, you had to learn this when your kids were young, right? You choose your battles. We can't control everything. We can't get them to learn everything at once. We can't get them to do everything the way we want them to do it all at once. Choose your battles. Consider where organization is most important within your organization. Maybe organizational skill doesn't necessarily mean a clean desk. I could have a messy desk and still know where everything is. Ask the folks that live with me. It means that they and you can find what's needed when you need it. And so don't think they're going to do it your way. And I think that's the next slide, right? Organization is personal, and everybody's going to have a slightly different way. I watch shop owners and some managers they want to control everything, and that's their personality. But you can't control everything. You've got to give me the goal and let me figure out how to get there. And as long as the goal gets accomplished, then it doesn't have to look like it would have if you had done it. Yes, does your way work? Yes, it does work. I know it got you there, but you know what? I'm not you. And so if you want me to use a notebook, okay. If you want to tell me what information you want me to write down in it, okay. But don't tell me I got to change the way I write in it, because that's the way I've written since I was 6. You can't control everything, especially when it comes to organization. But you can put process in place and hold service advisors accountable to the process. Organizational skill, I think, is an essential skill as a service advisor, because it's about timing, right? A lot of service advising is about timing. Yes, it's about selling, but a lot of it's about timing. When does the customer come in? How do I get this written up? When do I dispatch it? When does it have to be what's the promise time? When is it going back to the customer? A lot of it's timing, and that's all organization. So the whole organizational skill thing is complex. Use processes. You can teach some of it, you can't teach all of it. Time management is a huge piece of organizational skill, right? They've got to understand, a service advisor must understand that time is what we're selling, and because time is what we're selling, every bit of time we sell has to be maximized every single day. That's where our money comes from. And so they've got to be able to organize and influence the technician's time. I see some really good shops in my travels and in my consulting practice, and one of the challenges I see is that service advisor doesn't take responsibility for helping to organize the technician's time. They really do need to. Technicians may not be intuitive when it comes to time management. They're sometimes very efficient in time management, and that's awesome. But in terms of what job is coming in and when it has to go, and when parts are ordered and when parts arrive, and that type of organization of time, they may not be really awesome about it. And so really good service advisors understand that they can influence the technician's time organization and time management. And so they've got to have that understanding of time. I think that's really, really important. Another essential skill, along with organizational skills and people skills, is telephone skills. The good news here is that we can teach telephone skills. You can even hire telephone skills. And if you use call logging, perfect. It's an awesome learning tool. It's an awesome training tool. You don't have to listen to all the calls. Just let them listen to 3 or 4 a week. All right, and they'll learn from that. And so telephone skills are great. Go see the telephone skills video though. All right, because the greeting is really, really important. Well, that's not just for the service advisor. That's for anybody that answers the phone. The greeting is really important. How we're gonna route calls within the organization, within the phone system, and how we're gonna take messages, and how we're gonna use voicemail, and that type of thing. You can develop that with an employee. You can develop that with a service advisor. Yeah, you can hire telephone skills, but you still as an organization have to organize those telephone skills. Really, really, really important. And then, when do we answer calls? After how many rings? All right, so go check out the telephone skills video, but know that a service advisor needs those telephone skills. And then, look, the primary essential skill they've got to have is the ability to sell. Now, I would say that although I put here primary job, it is the primary job. It may not be the primary skill. I think the primary skill is the people person. And then the sales skill would probably be number 2, telephone skills number 3, and then organizational skills number 4, if I had to prioritize those. Selling is the primary job, for sure. This is what we need them to do. They can't be afraid to ask for the sale. They've got to be a people person, but an outgoing people person, all right? You can teach a selling skill. That's the really good news, and a lot of people do it, including us, right? When you teach selling, the really, really, really important thing to me is that customer buying process, understanding the psychology of your customer and where they need to be when in order to get a yes from them. So go have your service advisor, your new or your existing service advisors, watch the customer buying process videos. There's 6 of them. All right, it begins with the buying process in general and then goes through step 1 through 5. Do the same thing with the sales process videos. I'm not as concerned about sales process because a lot of people will work their way into a sales process, and all sales processes do the same thing. They support the customer buying process. So you've got to understand the customer buying process, and then you can work your sales process in to line that up and match. Document a sales process you want them to follow. A lot of owners and managers have a certain way they want things done. Okay, great. Document that, but make sure that every step of your sales process matches the steps of the customer buying process and supports that and influences that. Really, really important. Practice selling. One of my pet peeves is when somebody in class says to me, in answer to the question, do you ever practice selling? Yep, sure do. Every customer, every time. Really? You practice on every customer every time. It's like when I go see a doctor, I want to say to the doctor, hey, give me a call when you stop practicing and you start doing it for real. I don't want them practicing on me. I don't want them practicing on my customers. Seriously? Let's every month, let's get together. Let's hold a practice session. It could be 15 minutes. Listen, each one of you is going to sell one thing. It's going to take you 5 minutes each at max. 15 minutes. We can video it. You can video it with a cell phone. Real quick, real easy. Find instructor-led classes that allow for some practice, that allow for some video. All right? Let's watch this and see each other and coach each other. But you can teach selling skill, even if the service advisor has never had it. You don't have to hire for selling skill, but it is an essential skill that service advisors need to develop. People skills are number one. Can't teach those. I'm going to reorder this, okay? People skills number one, can't teach those. Selling skills number two, that's the primary job. We need them to make money for us. Telephone skills number three, because it goes with selling skills and people skills. And then organizational skills last. Okay, there's a lot more to this. Come check out our instructor-led classes. Check out some of the other videos I suggested you watch. And keep up the great work and never stop learning.